Welcome everybody to the Social Dig, the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and as always, we're going to be digging into the topics that keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. So come on in, kick your feet up, get comfortable, get an ice cold beverage, and get ready to join the conversation. Back here at the Social Dig, late night call-in show. Like always, we're going to be getting it in. I need to go ahead and post the information to call in, which, let me see, I might as well do that right now, right? So the call-in show, the number, if you were to call in, is going to be 856-843-3444, or that's 856-THE-DIGG. Actually, in a moment here, I'm going to go ahead and post the link if you want to go ahead and join the stage tonight. Definitely appreciate you coming on over and tuning in for the late night calling show. Who knows what we'll talk about tonight? Sky's the limit. It's open. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Whatever you want to talk about tonight, we'll do that. And yeah, that's how we'll get it in. So let's go ahead and thank everybody for coming on in tonight. We have, going back, we have Christine coming on over. Appreciate you, Christine. Hello, Maggie M10. Hello, Mr. Robin. Oh, hey, Maggie M10. Thanks for coming on in. Yes, I'm going to start this comment, Christine, because, yeah, some of this, yeah. Shadow Man, are you here? Question mark. Please be nice to Rob G. I hope that happens. Please let your boy sleep tonight, because I'm going to need it for tomorrow's show. JSCL77, hello everyone. Thanks for coming in, JSCL77. Appreciate you. Tomorrow, man, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you. Let's see, we got, scrolling down the list here, we got Wes H. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see, Carl Bittner, thanks for coming on in. Hey there everyone. Hey Carl Bittner, thanks for showing up. Let's see, Castle Dude, thanks for coming on in. I dig the dig, do you? That is the question. Thanks for coming in, Castle Dude. Let's see, going down the list. Okay, all right, looks like that's all we have in the chat right now. Appreciate you guys coming on over and joining the conversation here tonight. And Castle Dude wants to talk about Virginia, so we can do that. We can definitely do that. Appreciate you coming on in. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christine. I do dig the dig. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on in. And yeah, so we are here once again tonight. Social Dig is here, so let's go ahead and give a round of applause. Thank you. You're too kind. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Oh, please. Thank you. We want to talk about the great show that we had tonight at After Hours. Once again, always a great show. Always a great conversation. I'm going to have to look back, watch the video back. I pride myself in presentation, right? And I like for those things to go well. So when you have hiccups like tonight, I don't like it. You know what I mean? Even though some of those things are out of your control, especially if it's a shadow person interfering or whatever it was. It was definitely very strange. We'll say that. And, my dogs were going crazy at the same time. So I don't know how the two things would relate. But I think there probably is more than coincidence there, though I won't lean heavily into that because I don't want to create something that isn't right. But with the data that I already have, we know something's here, whatever it is, and we know it's a thing, and we know that there's been other unexplained things that have happened, And so, based on that data, wouldn't be too far off to say that maybe that has something to do with it, because there really isn't anything else to explain it truthfully. If you got one for me, let me know. But yeah, so I watched that show back and see if that was too disruptive. If it was, then I'll likely go in and edit that part of the video out, because other than that, it was an excellent show. We had an excellent guest, Kara Phillip. It was cool being introduced to her, and I see her doing big things in this field. She's on the right path, trying to, get into a position where she's able to affect what's going on, and that's on the paranormal side. She's in a lot of other things too, so we really didn't get to everything, but we'll have her back. That way we can dabble into, she's into cryptids and the ETs as well. We focused on paranormal, but we'll save that for the next appearance. And yeah, so let me go ahead now and get, I'm looking here and yeah, let's see. I'm taking all advice on this shadow person situation. So whatever you have, and see, I'm a guy. Look, I've looked at other shows, right? Prior to my incident here, and prior to living in this house that we're living in, I have not had anything else that I could point to in my life that I could say was paranormal. There isn't anything. You always, look at it, if you're in the dark, you can imagine things. And I think I've had those situations where you just imagine something's there, but you really don't, you're not sure, you don't really have the proof. So I used to lean into this stuff like, that I always feel like there's a possibility, but then once you start getting data and you start getting receipts, that's when it starts to get really weird and strange, because then you can't deny it at that point. So for me, it's positive proof that there's something, to this whole paranormal and to this other side. Like, this isn't just people making this stuff up. Granted, there probably are people that do make this stuff up, and I'm sure there actually probably is people that make this stuff up. But when you start looking at receipts, people who, and not just my own receipts, but anyone else who has receipts, when you start looking at that data, and then you go back and look at what this phenomenon might be, then it kind of brings it home that, dude, there actually is something to the other side of this. And that just, once you get that just, man, I'm telling you, it has opened me up to a lot of other possibilities when it comes to things that are strange and unexplainable. So, and me, I'm just, and if you don't know this by now, you will find out that I'm not a person that would ever BS anybody. I'm totally against the BS. I have a BS meter, actually, that I think is pretty good. So when I hear BS, you get that feeling, right? You get that funny feeling when you hear BS, and it's like, okay. And then you want things to further prove what it is that's being said. And I think proof is if you ever have receipts, regardless how you feel about those receipts, show your receipts, bring your receipts to the table, because that thing that some people may write off as, oh, that was probably nothing. You may have someone else who doesn't have a receipt, but can kind of validate what it is that you're showing. Like, yeah, I had that same thing. And then that kind of validates that person who didn't get a chance to get that receipt. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's what we're doing here. I just, anytime, and I'm not looking for, and that's the other part, right? I'm not looking for any of this stuff. I'm not out here looking for shadow people. I'm not out here looking for UFOs on purpose. Like, I'm not going out to look at these things. When I've captured these things, it has just happened to be right place, right time sort of situation. And I'm just kind of feel blessed that I was able to, be able to record those things and then be able to show them. Because every time I show someone those receipts, they are blown away. And it's because it's, what you can't really, what can you say? What can you say to those type of receipts? And that's why I love to see other people bring receipts. And I want 2024 to be the year of receipts. There's a lot of talk out there, but I want to see some stuff, man. Let's start capturing some stuff on film. Let's start, some of these cryptids. I want to get these cryptids on film. I've never experienced a cryptid. I've never experienced, from what I know, is any sort of extraterrestrial contact or anything like that. I haven't experienced that I know of. That's what the regression, hopefully I get done this year, will uncover something there. But, going forward, it has to be about the receipts. Because when you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about, we have all these cell phones and all these, you have a camera in your pocket and we're not getting any pics, we have to be mindful to get those pics, right? So, yeah, there's going to be cases where you don't have access to your phone, or it happened so fast that you couldn't pull your phone out, or you just forget to do it. But we have to now be more mindful going forward to, have something on deck. You know what I mean? Just like I showed earlier, I have my Pixel 6 Pro, that has a fantastic camera. I hope I catch some sort of sighting with this, because I think the resolution, that this is 4K recording, and it's not like a fishbowl effect. It's more of a realistic view of what it is that you're seeing. So I'm hoping that I catch something on this, but that's the only reason why I have this phone. I don't get calls on this at all. This is specifically to be used for the camera. So I keep this on me along with my iPhone, just in case there's something that I need to record. And I literally carry this with me every time I leave the house. I make sure it has a full battery every time I leave the house. And if I ever do catch anything, because I could go the rest of my life and not see anything else. You have people that have gone their whole lives, haven't seen anything at all. It's still up to this point. So there's no guarantee that I will ever see anything again, but you can best believe that if I do, I'm going to capture it on the best camera that I have available to me. And since my sighting, I've made it a point to be ready to record at any given moment. Set your quick buttons, or I think this one has one. I don't know. It probably does. But to where you can press one button and get right to your camera. You know what I mean? And just put yourself in the best position to get some receipts, man, because, if you look around, there's a lot of talk in this field, but rarely receipts. And we got to bring those receipts. If, stories matter and experiences matter, but we have to get those receipts, man. It's so important to do so. So when I say, and to my man, you're right. When you see something you don't understand, the last thing you're thinking about is pulling out your phone. Yeah, naturally, normally, that's absolutely true. And I'm adding the link to the feed here, so give me just a moment. But that's why we have to train ourselves, because naturally, but once you start training yourself, that's why I always go back to Long Island Bigfoot, what he was saying. He was saying, he just carries his camera with him and he just takes pictures of random things, and it just gets you used to just pulling your camera out and taking a picture right then and there, regardless what it is. So if it's a bird about to fly off, Pull that camera out, capture that bird, right? Or if it's a plane in the sky, go ahead, pull your phone out, capture that plane, just so you're used to doing it, your muscle memory, and that way you can almost guarantee, as long as your sighting lasts long enough, that you'll be in a good position to capture something. And because these things are up there, and I think when it comes down to it, the people who are out there who haven't had a sighting, who are on the fence about all this, the people who, yeah, they want to make sure they want to see some stuff. So let me post this here real quick. So yeah, give me one moment here. 5, 6. All right, one more moment here. Stage. All right. All right, let me pin that message. Okay. All right, so the message is pinned. Go ahead and close this out. So, okay. So, yeah, we could talk about Varginha, Brazil. I had a phone call come in. Let me make sure it's not a troll, all right? So make sure it's not a troll. Well, let me bring up the call in. Make sure, okay, do not disturb is off. And okay. All right, so we had a 601 area code number call in just a moment ago. You are free to call back in whenever you're ready. Let me make sure we're set for that. Okay. All right. So whoever that was, if you want to call back in, you can do so at any time. Obviously, the stage is open as well if you want to come up. Yeah. As long as we have someone that's adding to the conversation, and definitely not trolling like the troll from a couple weeks ago. We can't have any of that. Okay. All right. So Castle Dude. Oh, there we go. All right. Hello, caller. You there? I know I didn't end the call, did I? All right, we're calling you back.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Rob G.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, who do we have here?
This is JSC077.
JSC077. Hey, how you doing?
Echoing?
How you doing? You able to hear me?
I'm fine. It seems like I'm echoing really badly. I've never called you on the phone. I've always been in my stage.
Okay, you're coming in really good. I don't hear any echo on this end. Are you getting it still on your end?
Okay. I'll go ahead and try to make it as short as possible then, unless it clears up, which it might.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm echoing still badly on my end. What I'm going to do is
If you
I'll
have
just come in on
YouTube up,
late, I guess, if I can get it set up. I just wanted to tell you briefly. Now, this is too much. I'll have to call you back.
okay. Yeah, I don't know. So when you call in, guys, if you have YouTube playing in the background, you'll have to mute that or turn the volume down, or you'll probably get an echo. But let me know. Did you guys hear any echo on your end? We should have been okay. It sounded good on this end. Okay. All right. So, yeah, there was an echo, huh? Very strange that would be the case. Let me see. Coming into my audio interface. Yeah, and it should be right here. So, let me see something there. Yeah, no, it should have been okay. All right. Well, you can always click the link and join the stage. That should definitely be a different experience. I'm not sure. I didn't get the echo at all on my side. But I guess while we're waiting, so Castle Dude wanted to talk about Virginia. So once that sighting, just like I did on the episode 1, season 2 here, the Why Are They Here? Aliens and UFOs, pointed at Virginia as being one of those cases that I think you can consider, one of those White House, UFO landing on the White House lawn events. One of the things that skeptics ask for said, well, why won't they just land on the White House lawn? Well, when you have a situation like Virginia, Aerial School included, and Westall School, those three right there are, times where whatever these crafts are landed on the ground and things got out of them. Now, we haven't, we can't, they're likely not from here. I mean, like the likelihood is that they are from somewhere else. So I guess we can probably call them alien, even though we don't have the proof in our hands. But I think enough of what was explained by the actual people who came across the bean would pretty much confirm that it was something that they didn't recognize as being from this planet. And, I think that there are a lot of those cases. If you think about it, just like we talked about on that show, you have all these instances where you can prove essentially that these things have, that they're in our sky for one, and that the same craft that are in our sky have been seen going into the water, underwater for two. So you have in the air, you have underwater, and then the same craft as in the three cases we just talked about, including Virginia, you have these craft landing on the ground and things getting out of them. Now, I think there's the obvious connection to those three aspects there, but I think, one of the other parts of this that is beginning to come a little more clear is that, when you look at like Las Vegas ET, right? Las Vegas ET, the Miami Mall ET, and then when you look at the Peru ETs, right? That it would appear, if these are to be taken at face value, these encounters, that they are popping up, either materializing out of thin air through maybe what some people call a portal, or I don't understand that part of it. I think probably it's likely, if they're appearing out of thin air, that they are either uncloaking themselves. So when they are cloaked or in this state where you're not able to see them, that they're there. They're actually in our 3D reality, right? But they haven't decloaked themselves. Excuse me. And I think that's what we end up getting. Is we end up getting. I think that those are going to, in the long run, once we start uncovering and putting all the pieces together, I think we're going to find out that a lot of those things that people are currently writing off, I mean, really, when you look at it, excuse me, when you look at it, a lot of people, even within ufology, are kind of looking at the Las Vegas ET like, there's nothing there. It was, they're exaggerating or it wasn't what it was. And same thing with the Miami Mall ET, right? Where they're like, it was just, it was explained. The police said they were just kids popping fireworks and they thought they were gunshots. And then you have the Peru, where it's like, these people aren't seeing what they're seeing. These are, what do you call it? The cartel with jetpacks and just making up really ridiculous excuses. And I really haven't heard anything that debunkers have tried to use for Virginia. I think that's one of the ones that they just haven't been able to come up with an explanation for. And being that it was in broad daylight, a lot of the encounters that they had with that incident were in broad daylight. The guy who saw the craft that was in trouble, that he said had like a tear in it, and smoke was coming out of that, and that this craft was seen like floating or drifting down until it came and hit the ground. You saw the emotion in that guy's face, right? He sat there and he literally started crying about that. And yeah, so Strolling Stoner, what do you mean? If anybody in the chat says they were inducted, or you mean abducted, then I'm out. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, Strolling Stoner, the more that this onion gets peeled back, if you are coming from an open-minded position, I'm gonna say that what I will say is that I think we are beginning to understand that what we think is reality really isn't reality. Like, not saying that. When people say that, you think of like the Matrix, like we're in some actual video game or simulation. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but what I would say is that the bubble that we live in, our societal bubble that we live in, is not true to the possibilities of what it actually is that we're living in, right? Because you can look at a great example of that is your life in a Western country where things are great and you're pretty much safe, protected by your government from outside threats, meaning terrestrial threats. And you kind of just live in this protected bubble, right? I mean, technically that's the truth here in America, Canada, a lot of the Western countries, it's the same way, where you live in this protected place where you feel like it's just safe to walk around anywhere, any time of the day. And we found out, if you look at a third world country, you make a direct comparison to their idea of reality versus someone who lives in a protected space. Those are two different realities. And that's proof positive just in humanity and what it is that we can see with our own eyes. So if you can see that, and you can see that reality, that what you perceive as a reality, a solid reality, can be broken down with something like the pandemic, and you see how quickly things can fall apart, and you realize that reality that you're living in really isn't that. And that's not even getting into ETs. That's just talking about what you perceive this society to be. You know what I mean? And that's enough proof right there to show you that reality probably isn't really reality to everyone. It isn't the same reality, right? So, with that being said, that has to open your mind up to things outside of what it is that you perceive or believe. Yeah, this if you think about it, think about an asteroid impacting this earth. Think about that, right? An asteroid impacting this earth. Let's break that down. So in order for an asteroid to impact this earth, from your view on the ground, as a human being 2 feet on the ground, you would be watching a mountain appear out of the sky. A mountain. Something inconceivable. That's not in your reality, right? It's not in your reality. Mountains are affixed to the terrain of the earth, right? Or from what we understand about mountains, right? There isn't a reality. I mean, we know because we have evidence of asteroid impacts. We know that these mountains appear from the sky and fall into the earth, right? We have proof of that. But how does that sound? Doesn't that sound unbelievable on some levels? Like a mountain falling out of the sky sounds pretty crazy, right? But we know that it's a fact. We know that it happens, right? So just think about that. Think about the fact that you're sitting on a rock right now that is going thousands of miles. We are traveling, and that's why the whole space traveler thing is a thing, because whether you're sitting still or whether you perceive yourself to be sitting still here on Earth, you are literally rotating at a certain at a certain speed. And not only are you rotating, but you're also traversing through space while rotating around the sun. And you just keep doing this over and over again. But your perception isn't that from here on Earth. Your 2 feet on the ground perspective of what is actually going on outside of this planet, only because science has shown you that this is the case. There was a time where people didn't believe that was the case, right? So reality changed. And that's kind of how you have to look at it. We're not at a point to where we know everything about what it is that's going on. We know very little. We know very little about the planet that we're sitting on right now. So, when you start putting that stuff into perspective, that we're on a rock that is spinning itself thousands of miles an hour, you don't feel that. And then at the same time, you're traversing around space. So 6 months from now, you're going to be on the opposite side of the sun from where you are at this very moment. So Earth would have moved through space to a point to where it is, what is it, 90 something million, 93 million miles to the sun from Earth. So just doing the math on that, you say 6 months will put you on the opposite side of the sun. So you would have, that's the distance to the sun times 2 essentially. So 6 months from now, you'd be 180 million miles from where you are right now, but you don't perceive that. That isn't your perception from here standing on Earth. So just those things alone, I think, show you that you may not have a full grasp on what reality is. We really don't. So, yeah. And then on top of that, the space that we are traveling in is made up of something of a substance that we don't get or we don't understand, what they are calling dark matter, that we don't even know what that is, the blackness of space. We don't even know what that is, right? We don't know what that is. The blackness of space is the unknown. And our perception on Earth is that there's always a beginning and an end to something, because you start where you finish. If you start traveling east on Earth and you keep going, you're going to end up where you started. At some point you're going to reach right back around to where you started. So there's a start and an end point. The circle of life. There's a birth and then there's a death. There's a beginning and an end So nothing that we perceive here on Earth is infinite. However, the theory is that space is an infinite, is something that's infinite, right? That doesn't make sense here on Earth, right? It doesn't compute on Earth that something could be infinite. But we are perceiving space to be an infinite place. Like we talked about Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 that were launched back in 76 and 77. These things left Earth in 1976, 1977, both of them. They are still traveling deeper and deeper into space almost 50 years later with no sign of. The only way they're going to stop is if they run into some object like a planet or something, an asteroid or something that they run into that'll stop their forward progress. Other than that, we have spacecrafts that were built almost 50 years ago that are still moving outwards into space. Can you wrap your mind around that? Does that even make sense? So everything you've done in your life, all the places you've been, all the time that you perceived that has passed and this and that within your own life, that whole time and even longer for some people, these spacecraft that we sent out have been traveling outwards and have no sign of slowing down or stopping anytime soon. So when you look at all that, how can you sit up and say or put any sort of earthly idea on what is possible, right? That right there alone. So we haven't even gone into ETs and all that, but just things that science has shown us, the theories that have been put out are theories that you can't even really wrap your mind around, right? People talk about a Big Bang theory. A Big Bang theory to me sounds kind of ridiculous. Is it possible? Yeah, I guess. But the explanation for it, a lot of people just run with it and say, yeah, this is how the universe started. It was a point of matter and it just exploded and now it's space, everything was created in that moment and is spreading out and it's still spreading out as everything's getting further away, and this is how the universe started. The explanation they were given, and a lot of people like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, that makes sense. How does that even, how do you begin to wrap your mind around that explanation? How? It's not anything that is normal to, there's nothing that you experience here on Earth that shows that that's the case. So it just, and I think that's a big thing to point out, especially to people who second guess things. I'm coming further and further into a place, especially with the experiences I've had lately, that there just isn't, I don't think you can put a cap on any idea of what it is that we're dealing with, period, when it comes to life, just as humans, and then even going out into extraterrestrials, because obviously they're under the same rule that we're under as far as trying to figure out what this universe is. It's very unlikely that these things we're seeing created the universe. So they're under a learning curve just as we are. They just may be further along the path in understanding how this all works, but there's still even a higher power, that's over them. I'm pretty sure they may know a lot more than we do, but they may also not have figured this all out. So we may find out when we get a chance to talk to these things, if we haven't already, that they're on the road to figure out what life is all about as well. And we just assume that they're coming here with all the full knowledge and all the answers come from them. They'll be able to, we may talk to them and they're like, hey, I don't know. We have no clue. We came here to ask you guys if you guys knew what life was all about. And that's why we traveled here. We traveled here to see if you guys had the answer to what life was all about. Wouldn't that be And that's a more likely thing, right? Because it doesn't appear that these things have created the universe. So they've had to have questions just like we do currently. And maybe they have more of those questions answered than we do at this point. Very likely that they do if they're millions or billions of years more advanced than we are. But, I feel like they probably don't have 100% of the answers either. And that's why else would they travel space? Why else would they venture out and explore if they had all the answers? They wouldn't need to, right? They'd just stay where they were because they have all the answers to the universe. So that why travel space, right? So, that's why I say I think when you use common sense, I think common sense, when you start really breaking it down, can explain a lot of this stuff. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here. Let's see. Let's see here. Jimmy Gonzalez says aliens have an agenda, obviously. I can agree that there may be an agenda there, but I think it kind of goes back to like I was saying. I think it goes back to there's one or two things likely going on, right? Is that they know everything, and they are either trying to spread the word throughout the universe, which is why they visit different planets and maybe interact with species like we see them doing here. And with a lot of people believe that they may have an answer to something and they're trying to let us know. Or it could be that they don't know everything and they're traveling space to try to get some of those answers to the questions that they still have. Right? So we have a guest that just stepped in the back here, and we want to go ahead and bring him on in. Mr. JSCO77. Hey, sir. How are you doing?
Mr. Rob G, how are you, my friend?
Doing good, doing good. Just going through some theories here.
Don't let me stop you. I'd like for you to go ahead if possible, and I can listen in and maybe join in a little bit somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. So essentially, yeah. So I'll just finish what I was saying. Yeah, I think, with these ETs, just trying to figure out, I think if you look at what's most likely or logical, then you can try to figure a lot of this stuff out. Like I'm sitting here saying now that, we may find out, instead of ETs being all knowing and having this puzzle figured out, that there may be answers that they are still searching for, which would make sense on why they would be traveling space. Like if they had all the answers, unless they were looking to give the answers to us, which some people theorize, or unless they were, understanding how this all works, maybe they're coming to do other things that are nefarious. We don't know. But I think the most logical thing is that they're doing exactly what we would do. Once we are able to travel space, we're going to spend a lot of thousands of years, or however many years it takes to get to the answers. We're going to be traveling space and trying to check off the list of things, of questions that we have. And I think maybe they have the same list. They may have more things checked off, but there's still things that they haven't figured out. And I think, when we sit down and have this conversation with them, that we may find out, we're looking to them like, hey, you guys know all the answers. Can you give us the answers? And they're like, yeah, we don't really have all the answers. We're out here trying to find out the same thing you guys are. And then kind of, how would you look at things then? Because I know a lot of these people put ETs as like the all-knowing, as an all-knowing entity, and I really don't think that is going to end up being the case. You can look at a perfect example here on Earth where you have someone who's gone through, schooling, has mastered, a specific area of expertise, and then someone who's just coming into that field. So this person may know a lot more than you, but they still haven't figured everything out. And I think that example probably goes across the universe. I think there's different species with different levels of understanding of what this is. But I think that this thing is so complex that they probably haven't figured it all out. Because, I don't know. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I don't know what you think about that. JSCL77, Little Cam 51 says the universe is a fractal. Okay. Lex Diaz says aliens are like an older sibling, maybe. And that's a good way to kind of position it, right? Your older brother has more life experience, but still hasn't figured it all out. Just like in your own life, you as a baby, until your last day breathing, you may have learned a lot on the way, and so much information that you could share with others who haven't traveled that road or gotten to that point, but you still probably haven't figured it all out, by the time your last day comes. And I'm pretty sure that's a fact. And so why that should probably be the rule for any living thing that evolved and anywhere in the universe. It would make sense that the universe is the higher power, whatever that may be, however you look at that. And the things that are living within it are things that are intelligent, which means, or most, the things we're looking at are intelligences like ourselves, and then these ETs and other examples. But what the intelligence means, you learning, and you've learned up to a certain point, and the learning is a constant thing that you do, and it just is something that keeps evolving until you get all the answers. And I just feel like chances are that even these ETs, as advanced as they are, they probably don't have all the answers. So I think that makes sense. And yeah, Jimmy Gonzalez, connecting the dots. And I think that's what this is all about. Connecting the dots in the same ways that we sit here and we bump ideas off each other and theories to put the puzzle together for what it is we're dealing with right now on this planet in this time. I think it's just another level of that once we actually interact with these ETs. So we get to spitball with the ETs and kind of take what it is they've learned and kind of add it to our own knowledge base. But then to find out now we're all on the same level knowledge wise, but we'll find out that we're all still searching for more answers. And I think it may be an ongoing thing that you never get to a point to where you've learned everything, or, maybe it's something that, it's you're never meant to know everything. And that could be the case too. Maybe it's just something that, regardless how advanced you are, that you may just never get to a point to understand why it is. And just saying it is because we don't even understand what it is. So it's just like a never-ending learning process for all things that are intelligent enough to get to that thought process. So, yeah, just kind of spitballing. I mean, just trying to make sense of it, right? Because that's all we can do with what we have. But I don't think that enough conversations are being had in this field about even getting to that point. Is when you look around and a lot of people focus on, okay, a cryptid is here and I have questions about that, or I saw a Bigfoot, not really sure where it went, or I see these crafts in the sky, not sure where they're from. And that's kind of where everyone is at in the conversation. But kind of once we get to that next point to where we do understand maybe these things are interconnected, and then yes, they are interconnected, And then we get to a point to where, now we are learning things that are outside of this planet, that because space is so big and you see how many galaxies there are out there, just billions, how long would it take you to figure out all the secrets of those galaxies? And there could be things that happen in some galaxies that don't happen in others. And the time it would take to sort all that out and figure all that out, like, why isn't there just one big galaxy? Why are there all these separate galaxies? Why do they exist in this way? Like, there's still so many questions to be answered. And I think that's how we have to start thinking, man, as far as when it comes down to ascending, that ascension that we're looking for, that we think might be the ultimate ascension. Once we get to know these ETs, we may be disappointed to find out that it's just another, more questions than answers. And so we've gotten to a point to where, yeah, we know what this is, but then now we have this bigger fish to fry, which is whatever it is these ETs are still trying to figure out. And I think that might be end up being what we end up with, instead of getting all the answers. But that's why you have to be, I think, the way that you look at a way that a lot of people are looking at this as the end all be all. Once this contact actually happens, is maybe that's not even close to the end of the story, and there's just so much more to go from there. Let's see what we got here in the chat. Let's see. Welcome to the show. Okay, so doesn't the galaxy move through the universe? Yeah. On top of all that, right? So the planet moves around, or spins around, or rotates itself on an axis, and then it rotates around the sun as the galaxy rotates and moves throughout the universe. And so just start thinking about that. And first of all, just the amount of energy it would take for all that stuff to happen in space. So how much raw energy that it's taking for all these things to happen at once in something that we believe at this point is something that is infinite, which we may find out one day that is really not infinite, but it's what we have right now. And, just, I don't know if you could even begin on our level, especially on our level. I don't even think you can begin to say that you have the answer to any of that. That's why when I listen to skeptics, I laugh, right? Because, they look at things as based on what we know within our little societal bubbles that we live in, that there can't be anything outside of what we've created that is going to be, something of relevance or something that's possible. And I think that is just it just doesn't make sense, that train of thought. It just doesn't. So, that's why I laugh at skeptics, even though, you have like a Mick West who might debunk something like a specific sighting, and okay, yeah, that could be that. And so that's supposed to explain everything. Then no. You might have explained the one thing that, and we'll end up doing that anyway, with or without Mick West, kind of vetting things as we go. And that's how we should be doing it, to figure out what's real and what isn't, and what's probable and what's not. And that's just the natural process that we go through anyways, to try to get to these answers. So, but it's just for someone to sit up and think because they have an answer to a specific thing, that there isn't anything possible outside of that, I think is just very strange. So if you can at least be open to that thought, then you should be able to be open to a lot of the things that people are saying they experience as being something that's plausible. Because what can you say against something like that? You can say something isn't likely, but you can't really stand up and say something is impossible or that's not possible. That's just a word that shouldn't even be in the vocabulary. Is something is possible or not possible. because those words really don't mean anything when you don't have a full understanding of anything. Your own life, your own existence as a person, you don't have any understanding down to that level. So, what makes you think that you can speak on a worldly level to talk about what's possible or what isn't? You know what I mean? And that's where the conversations happen. That's why I appreciate skeptics that are open to discussing this, because there's point of views from both sides that'll help us, get further down the line. But I think when you hold a stance, a hard stance, one side or the other, that you're doing a disservice to yourself, and you're kind of, roadblocking the progress of the conversation. So, and I'm just talking JSCO. Whenever you feel like you want to chime in, just jump in.
Well, I was going to tell you that, just to add a little bit to what you're saying, is that size is a relevant thing, okay? The size of something. You take the size of our universe that we live in. It's so huge when we look at it, we can't wrap our heads around it. It's absolutely huge. Like you were saying, our solar system is going around our star and our galaxy, which is going around basically the center of this galaxy, which there are billions of stars within this galaxy. And nowadays they think that there's at least 1.5 planets per star out there. That's a lot of planets. A lot of planets. As you know, I tend myself to look more at creationism as opposed to the randomness of it all. It's hard for me to imagine that all of this just came about randomly. It's hard to imagine that. For me, some folks probably, that might be the easiest way for them to digest what's going on around us, the size of the universe and everything that's in it. We only see just a little tiny bit of our universe. I think about if the creator of this universe, I wonder how large that entity is.
Right.
If he was as large as or larger than this universe, then you wouldn't be able to see him. He'd be so big, you wouldn't be able to see him. You might exist, we all might exist in the tippy tip of that creator's finger, his little finger.
Right.
Okay? We look out here and see how large all of this is, how huge it is. Yet when you go into inner space, you get into the quantum world a bit. Let's say that you could go in and stand on a quark. You wouldn't be able to see anything that would make any sense to you. You certainly wouldn't be able to see yourself because you would be so huge from that perspective. You just wouldn't be able to perceive what you were looking at.
Right.
Think about, I like to envision something like a front porch. A front porch somewhere with a rocking chair on it. And maybe the creator sitting in that rocking chair and looking out at his backyard. And our universe might be just a little puddle of water right there, just off the porch to the right. And beyond that, another puddle. And over to the left, yet another puddle. Maybe one puddle is filled up with catfish. Maybe another puddle is filled up with bass and trout. and over to the left, a swimming pool filled with goldfish.
Exactly.
His creation. It's an amazing thing, when you look at it. You really can't get your head wrapped around it. And I certainly agree with your perspective in that I don't think that anyone living in this universe has all the answers. I don't think so, Rob.
Nope. Not at all.
It's not going to be that way. It's going to be a mystery. And when somebody, I have, no problems with, and we'll look forward to the day when all of a sudden there on the screen, there on your monitor, will be an image of a president of the United States of America welcoming aliens to this world and them
Right.
standing on stage with him. I don't have a problem with that. Now, where I would get off the train and hang up the phone is when they would start telling me, we created you. No,
Right.
they did not.
I don't believe that either.
And, like I say, I would consider that to be a plan, really be honest with you, a plan against us at that point. We created you. Now, look, how long have they been around? Were they here when the dinosaurs roamed the earth? When man first started walking on this earth, it's possible that they came in and did some things with DNA and this, that, and the other. That's possible, I think. It's something to consider. But did they create us? No, they did not. I would consider such a statement to just be a lie. And I think the people of the earth in mass would recognize that lie. I think we would all recognize it. I really do. The other thing that I wanted to say to you is that there is a site on YouTube, and probably most people already know this because Dave was a part of it recently. But Martin Willis has a site that is called Podcast UFO, and they do live shows. 2 days ago, he posted a video where they had their show called Crossfire, UAP Crossfire, I think is the name of
Yes.
it. And on that show was Dave Scott, was Dave. And I watched that tonight. On that show, from just left to right, looking at the page, was a guy named Chris DiPerno, who is with UFON.
Okay. Yeah, I saw him.
And then there was a guy named Don Ecker, who is host of Dark Matters on YouTube.
Yes.
There was Dave, and then a gentleman that I'm getting to know, whose name is Mark D'Antonio.
Yes.
Now, Mark happened to be part of that broadcast as a guest. Okay. Normally there's a guy there called Commander Cobra, but he was not present for this get together. Mark D'Antonio took his place. You guys, all of you, need to go over to Podcast UFO under live shows and listen to this program. It's an hour and 40 minutes, 22 seconds. It's one of the most informative and fun conversations that I've heard in recent times.
Yes.
Very informative conversation. Mark D'Antonio, okay? The guy, among many things, is an astronomer, and he's recognized worldwide. He is also the chief video and photography analyst for MUFON. He is a scientist. I don't know. You'd probably have a list as long as your leg for degrees, past jobs, and so forth that Mark positions that Mark has held many different positions with the government in service to the military, especially the Navy, on and on and on and on. Mark D'Antonio. Mark had some brilliant input into this podcast concerning David Grush, the circumstances that are developing around UFOs right now. You really need to hear this conversation. You really do. I thought it was brilliant, not only entertaining, but extremely informative. That's much better. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you very well.
Good. There was an echo
Hi.
static.
Hi, good morning. Good morning,
Hi.
everybody.
Hi there.
Hi, yeah, I just want to jump in and just back up what you said. The conversation on the UAP crossfire was really, really good. I think it could have gone on for another hour and a half.
Yeah, I was ready for it, man. Wanted to.
Yeah, there was a lot of pushback against Dave. I felt regarding his experiences, but it was a nice pushback. It wasn't saying, no, you're a wackadoo.
Not at all.
You know, you're making this up. It was an acknowledgement that I think the whole panel acknowledged that people are having these experiences. Now, it may well be that these experiences are inside people's minds. And I think that's kind of the angle they were going at. And even if that is the case, there has to be a catalyst behind that. When, you know, probably millions of people are having these experiences, whether it's ET contacts, ET abduction, seeing a ghost, seeing Sasquatch. You know, there's got to be an underlying cause against that. But yeah, I just wanted to back that up. The UAP Crossfire, and Martin Willis is an excellent host. One of the best out there. He's very neutral, but he's very defined in his own beliefs.
Agreed.
And yeah, that was an excellent conversation.
I agree with you, and that's what it was. These people, I think, there may be one person say that doesn't know the rest of the people that were on the panel, but it was in depth, like you say, conversation. I really didn't sense pushback against Dave. As you said, if there was, it was good pushback. Don Ecker, at one point, Don's kind of a confrontational kind of a guy anyway. You know, it's just his personality to be that way. Mark D'Antonio was laughing as Don Ecker was talking to Dave about his position and his stances on things. And then Mark came up and said, you know, Don Ecker and I are good friends and have been for many years. He cleared that up to the audience's sake, you know, so that people didn't think that they were getting on Dave and didn't think that they were arguing with one another.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the whole panel, I'm a big supporter. I've been watching Podcast UFO for many years, many years, probably 10 years.
See, I haven't. They're relatively new to me. I appreciate you telling me this. Anything you can share?
Yeah, no, Martin Willis has really matured into the field. And the thing I like about Martin is he pauses before he speaks. A lot of people think, you know, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but it's the opposite. He pauses before he speaks, before he answers a question, before he poses a question. And the UAP Crossfire, I think it's only been around a few months.
Okay. That explains why I've missed it.
Yeah,
it's new.
I think it's only been around, you know, 4 to 5 months maybe. But and the panel, sometimes the conversation gets quite heated.
They should have a
But
massive
but
audience, you know?
but it's like it's a strange thing, but you don't find much in ufology and such. It's a nice heated exchange. At the end of it, everybody shakes hands and says, "Okay, thanks, I appreciate the conversation." And that's a rare thing at the moment. And yeah, Martin Willis is an excellent host. He's not a researcher by any means. He's very knowledgeable, but he's not a researcher per se. I mean, he's not doing this every day. He has an outside job of evaluating antiques and properties and things like that. But yeah,
He's
great
great with
conversation.
people, isn't he?
Yeah, great conversation. Really enjoyed it. A couple of things here. I've made a little list. And good morning. It's 8:30 here in the UK.
Well, good morning to you.
About aliens being advanced. I don't think that may necessarily be the case. I think, and I think I might have discussed this with Rob G on a previous show. Or on another show. Maybe they stumbled upon some technology in the same way we stumbled upon nuclear power or the X-ray and things like that. Maybe they just stumbled upon a technology that allowed them to build these crafts or things like that. I don't think people talk about them being thousands or millions of years in advance of us. That may not be the case. They may have found their own Roswell on their planet and back engineered a craft. Maybe they may not be the original architects of this technology. What do you think about that?
I think that the likelihood would be that they have been around quite a bit longer than we have and functional with this technology. How? I really have no idea. But these events have been reported throughout history. People have been seeing craft flying in the sky for a long, long time. And so I think that there's possibility that they've been around a lot longer and that they are more advanced with the technology. But how they came across it, I don't know. And where they stand, this is of interest to me, where they stand in their development as a race with their perspective on other races is something that is really of interest to me that I would like to have more answers on. For example, when you start talking about abduction, the things that have been done to human beings, if it indeed that these things have been done by people from somewhere else, causes me to look at them in a rather dim light. It makes me wonder, you have to wonder why they would put people through the things that they have. They have hurt people and
Well,
worse.
yeah. I tend to agree because, I mean, the narrative is, it's all peace and love and light, and alien abduction is, a pleasant thing. But I'm a very, very amateur, very bottom line amateur researcher. I've been researching this for over
You're ahead
30
of me.
years. Um, um, a lot of the people who claim to have experienced abduction have said it's a horrible thing.
Yes.
And that's only from the people, if that is the case, who've been abducted and have never returned. You know,
Yeah,
we
I mean,
don't.
it could be. It could be
Yeah,
that we're doing this to
you know,
ourselves.
you
Also,
know, we don't know what's going on. If,
yeah.
you know, there's millions of people go missing every year, and if a percentage of them are being taken by an off-world intelligence, I mean, what is going on there? You don't know what's going on. It could be absolutely barbaric and horrific, and maybe that's why the governments are trying to sidestep the whole topic. It could be absolutely horrific what's going on. And a lot of people don't talk about that. And like you say, at the minute, it's all nuts and bolts in Congress. It's all nuts and bolts. As Dave was saying on UAP Crossfire, the experience isn't a part of this at the moment. It's all about crafts and nuts and bolts.
You know, I would say that there has been good and evil since the very beginning. And I think that that is universal. I don't think that they are unlike us and other creatures in this world when you consider something as simple, and I'm a simple person, okay? When you consider something like there are dogs that will bite you, there are other dogs that will love you. And I think that they are likely the same race to race. And within that race, whatever race it may be, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. And I think that that is a difficult problem that we
Well,
are faced with.
the old the old good and evil thing, it is another paradigm. I mean, if both of them were living entities, perhaps both of them are just trying to exist, and the only way to exist is to feed off each other. So evil, good, maybe they're two biological entities that need to exist, and the only way to exist is to feed off each other. And that, if you look at that in a natural form, I mean that's nature to a T. And perhaps our concept of good and evil needs to change. And
I agree, but let me present this to you. There is, now you think about it. You look out here in the world, just like there is daylight and there is dark. Okay?
yeah,
There
yeah,
is good and there is evil.
yeah,
There are some people that will just kill you at the drop of a hat for the enjoyment of killing you. Other people, that kind of thing would never come to their minds. And I refer to that as good and evil, not just as a concept or a
so you
perspective. I believe that
so
it
you
is a motivating force
so
within
so
this
you,
universe.
so you refer to somebody, God forbid, ending another person's life as being evil. Why is that? And I'm just throwing this log on the fire. I'm not taking a stance on it. So so ending life is considered to be evil.
Well, killing, I consider, wanton killing without any consideration for anything else, to just kill for the joy of killing. I understand what you're saying, but I do consider it to be evil. Yeah, I do. As an extreme example,
Hmm. So what would be your definition of evil in a couple of
I
sentences?
wouldn't have a clear definition of evil.
No, okay,
I'd
no,
have to stop and
no,
think about that one a little bit.
yeah. I agree.
I don't look
So,
at things and say, I don't judge.
mhm.
I don't want to judge at all, not in the least.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you can just look and see what some people and some other things in this world do, and they are harmful in the environment to everything else that's around them.
Do you
Well,
think
that to be
do
good.
do you think the concepts of good and evil is universal in the universe, or do you think it's
I do. I
uh,
believe that it is a force within the universe that there is good and evil. That's just what I believe. Now, I'm
mm,
not saying I'm right, and
mm,
I don't expect you or anyone else to agree with me, but that is what I see. That
I,
it is that
I,
they are forces
Um,
within
I
the.
don't. I don't agree or disagree with that
I understand.
comment because I just
I
it's
understand.
just it's a huge thing to try and wrap your head around. Um, so we have living entities on this planet that we kill daily for food and things like that
Yes.
in some of the most barbaric conditions. Um, would you consider that evil?
No. I think it's part. I think it is simply part of life. As I say, I'm a simple person.
Hmm.
I'm not an anthropologist. I'm not a scientist. It's part of our life that we hunt for food. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I do tend to agree. A lot
But
of
if
people.
I may say this before you go on, forgive me for interrupting you. If I don't say it now, I'll forget to. But after intelligence develops to a certain level, you don't hunt that intelligence for food. You don't do that. That's the way I look at it. After intelligence develops to a point, you don't just go in and kill that intelligence.
I no, I
Unless you
agree. I agree, and just going back to the 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 hunting to survive. If we all lived on a 10,000 acre site and we had to go out and find food ourselves each day instead of going to the supermarket to buy meat or bread or whatever, you know, um, we'd be hunting game. But I don't think that's necessarily true because intelligence tells us that we don't have to hunt game. We're at a point in our development where we can live without killing another species.
Yeah.
There, there, there's there's um, there's proteins out there what we can eat without killing another species.
I think we will eventually evolve beyond it.
I,
I
I,
certainly
I,
do.
I do also because I think eventually there won't be anything left to eat. I think we're going to be in a position where the population of the planet is exceeding 11, 12 billion, where there simply won't be enough um, breathing meat to eat. We're going to have to develop an artificial protein. I mean that's already out there. You have it in the pot noodles and your soy stacks and things like that. Um, but
You,
yeah,
you know,
just kind of get this back on the rails in regards to good and evil. Um,
well, it's a difficult topic.
yeah,
A
I've
lot of
seen
speculation and a lot of.
um, I've seen some horrific footage of how meat ends up in the mall and in the supermarket, and it's bloody horrific. And to me, that's evil. And I know the population needs to eat food.
So you do have a
Uh,
concept for evil, right?
yes, yeah. To
I
me,
want to
that
understand that because I mean,
yeah, and it's exactly what you said. Taking a completely innocent entity and
wantonly.
an innocent life form for
Ben
your own.
Rich said, if you think about this, and I'm sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but
that's
think
fine.
about this.
Please,
Ben
please,
Rich
please
said
interrupt anytime.
that if you've seen Star Trek, you know who Ben Rich was? He's the head of Skunk Works.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
the
yeah,
head
yeah,
knocker at Skunk
yeah.
Works.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah. He was commander in chief. Yeah.
just just before his death, he said, "If you've seen Star Trek, if you've seen Star Wars, we've already been there and done that, or decided that it wasn't worth the effort." He said, this was years ago, we can take ET home. And if you right now imagine things like Star Trek and Star Wars, we've already been there and done it all. Now, the developers of these shows that we have watched and we have become so fond of, I think that there was a little guidance in those programs. You know, this is a lead in for
Well,
people.
when he said we can take ET home, I mean, where's home? And
Yeah. Well,
that was
yeah.
that was never defined.
Either, yeah,
Home could be right here on planet Earth.
wherever it
Um,
was. You know, he said we can take them home. But he said, if you watch Star Trek and you watch Star Wars, we've already been there and done that. And we were talking about good and evil. In these episodes, there's always the good guys and the bad guys. And I think that was there for a reason, for us to see and to be able to digest, so that we understand that what's out there and what we are being visited by is both good and bad. There's some of these groups that are
so
good folks and others that aren't.
so
And we got to be ready for that when the time comes.
so the question is, what side do you take? Like you say, when the time comes, maybe evil is the way to go. And like I said, I'm just throwing this log on the fire just for conversation.
I couldn't agree with that at all, to be
I'm,
honest.
I'm,
If you
I'm
don't
not.
mind me disagreeing with you,
No,
I
no,
don't think
no,
the
no.
choice
Yeah,
for evil is a good one.
I'm not making I'm not making a
I know.
statement
I'm not either.
on
I'm
what I
just
believe. I'm
having
just
conversation with.
I'm throwing this log on the fire. What if evil is the only way to continue a continuality of life?
It is not. See,
Why do you
personally, I would consider it a waste of your time and energy to think that evil would be the thing, or that it could ever be the only way. It has never been, and it never will be. That's my opinion. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
be so forceful, but
No. I mean, hey, I like to think of myself as a good person.
sure.
I go out of my way to help other people. Um,
You love other people. Yeah.
I'm a great guy at work. I have two little dogs here that I love more than life itself. And this whole field and this whole paradigm of topics, sometimes I need to just dismiss because it gets a little heavy, and I think it can, potentially affect a person's mental well-being. So I like to jump in on it occasionally and just to get some other opinions, just so I know that I'm not here all by myself.
Sure.
And I think you probably agree with that.
If you forgive me, I about coming in so strong about not choosing evil.
Yeah.
I hope that you will, but it kind of shocked me that you said that. Not for you to say it personally, but for that concept to be there. It won't be that way.
Yeah,
I don't believe that it will. I don't mean to bore everybody out.
Yeah, I agree. And like I say, it's not a concept that I work towards. It's just a concept that I've considered. And the origins of that comes from nature. and you're watching a pack of lions hunt, or a spider in a web. Um, some may conceive that as just a natural event. Some may contrive that as, well, that's nasty. Why did the pack of lions have to kill the prey they were hunting? That's some say that's survival, but if you bring it down to a human um, um, narrative, like you say, if I went out now and committed an horrific crime, it would be considered evil. But if I went out and committed an horrific crime and then sat down and ate the individual that I'd just murdered for sustenance, that's considered evil also. And I'm just throwing these concepts out there. I'm not a wackadoo. I'm not crazy.
No, I don't think you are at all. I'm enjoying the conversation with you. I just hope that other people can enjoy our conversation.
I'm just throwing those conversations. Rob G, do you want to come in here?
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying listening to you guys go back and forth. This is what it's all about. I'm loving that you guys are engaged in this because this is an important conversation to have. So I'm just kicking back, loving the spitballing that's going on here, and being able to have opinions that may not necessarily align, but it still furthers the conversation. And just to chime in on the good and evil thing, what I think about good and evil is I think those are earthly descriptions of I think something that we may find is a natural thing. One thing that translates from Earth to what we know here on Earth that translates out into space, polar opposites would be light and day, and then hot and cold. So if those two opposites exist out there in space, we know that they do, regardless on what an ET may call hot versus cold, it's still two opposite ends of the spectrum. So if that exists, if those two opposites exist, then there is definitely the possibility that the opposites of what we perceive to be good and evil exist. And I understand what you're saying, Major Lee, on the when you look at it in we have a conscience, we have morals as humans, so we label things good and evil based from a moral perspective. But if you break it down, if you break down just what happens here on Earth into life and death and the circle of life, we kill things to eat them, and those animals that are being killed could perceive what we are doing as evil, but we are doing something that is natural to our existence and isn't something that we may necessarily look at as good or evil. So I think it's more of whoever, it could be different based on whose perspective it is. And but with that being said, good and evil in the sense that we define it as, I think, may exist out there, probably does exist, but it may not be looked at as good and evil. It may be survival or not. Maybe what it's looked at.
Yeah, a little comment on that. Let's just suggest a post-apocalyptic world where there's been a nuclear exchange and there's no food, there's no, it's a shitstorm, and the only source of protein is your neighbour. Would that be a natural event? Would it be considered natural to go out and put your neighbour in the freezer to keep you fed? Would that not be natural?
No.
It would not be natural in the morals that we understand in the society that we live in. But there are, I would say, there are examples of cannibalism.
I'm not talking about moralistically.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I mean, I think I see where you're going with this, Rob. There's been occasions where cannibalism has happened when, for example, a fly has been down in a mountain range in the middle of nowhere, and things like that. Um, so, if I had to survive, and let's just, God forbid, I hope it never happens, a post-apocalyptic nuclear exchange world, if I did survive, and the only source of protein for me was my neighbour, would that be an evil act if I took their life to continue mine?
In my opinion,
Right.
it would be. It would be
Yeah.
because of the root of it.
How do you mean the root?
The thought process.
What do you mean the root of it? Well, the thought
I mean,
process.
cannibalism is not a cool thing.
Well,
You can't go kill
yeah,
anybody
yeah, but just
because
hang on.
you're hungry.
The thought process is a simple biological need that I need to eat food. So it's not it's not a mental thought process that I need to do that. It's a biological process that
Hmm.
in order to survive, I need to, consume protein. So would that be considered evil?
That's my point. I would say no. I would say no, but obviously morally it is evil. But I
Oh,
would
yeah,
say no on an
yeah.
existence level, no.
Morally, it would be devastating to have
It's
to.
never a good thing to go and take another person's life to
No.
serve yourself.
No.
No
And that's
way.
not we don't want to paint that picture that that's what we're saying because I don't think that's not
No,
what we're saying.
It's
no,
starting
no.
to sound that way, though.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a catastrophic moment to find yourself in. But I think that, like I just said to Rob and you, sir, there has been occasions where we've had these aircraft crashed in mountain ranges and the Arctic, and the only way to survive is to you know uh, eat your fellow passenger, and as horrific as that is, taking that one step further, these passengers have usually deceased. Um, so, faced with hunger and starving to death, I would probably find myself sitting down with my neighbour and holding their hand and crossing over into the abyss together, as opposed to hitting them on the head with it and putting them on the barbecue.
Killing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that. See, that's where we have to. What we're doing right now is just an exercise in taking off the moral hat, right? Because
Yeah,
none of us believes that cannibalism is anything that is a good thing at all. We're just taking off the moral cap and looking at this from a nature perspective, right? Just nature. Now, so this takes the thought process out of everything. This takes the moral, contemplation out of the situation. When you and you could just look at the African savannah, right? So you see all these hyenas teaming up on this baby, whatever it might be hunting, and morally you want to step in and save the life of that little guy, but you have to make a conscious decision to understand that this is nature and morals have to be taken out of that in order for this to be what we call the circle of life. So something lives or dies so that something else can live. And so only looking at it on that level is what we're saying. But obviously, we have to put our morals aside to think like that. But when you do that, you strip away that moral compass and you look at this just from a nature perspective. And we don't control what nature says or does. Nature says that you have to kill something and eat it in order to survive. And sometimes that, if you look at other species, some species cannibalize themselves, and we have many examples of that. So obviously, if those species had morals, then they probably wouldn't do that. But at the same time, we don't step in to stop it because as humans who have morals, because we understand that that's just nature. So just looking at human, and I think that's one of the things that we've done as humans is we've pulled ourselves away from nature, which is a good thing because we have morals and we can make conscious decisions on what's right and what's wrong. But at the same time, we are animals just as animals are animals, and there really isn't any separation from that, except for we have a consciousness and morals that allow us to make a decision to not do something or to do something. But when it comes down to primal instinct, and it comes down to there's no other way to for you to survive. You can starve to death, or you can do something that you probably morally wouldn't do. Its point has been proven in history that you revert to nature. You revert back to nature, whether that's right or wrong. And we know in a lot of cases what we're saying here isn't the right thing to do, but it's proven that that's where you go back to. And so with that being said, we have put good and evil, we have stamped that onto these behaviors because we are a higher conscience species, and we have developed morals that allow us to do that. But not saying that this is the way it should be, but it's just what it is, unfortunately, when it comes to that. And if there's an example of that here, then there's likely an example of that on one of the other Earth-like planets where you have life growing, and it's just likely you may find out that it's one of the rules across the universe, and it may be looked at or called something different.
I would agree with that, and that phrase, I know my friend is down to jump in. Primal instinct is like the base level.
Isn't that what these beings may be waiting for us to overcome? These primal instincts for war and for killing, or those types of circumstances.
I think me and you are on the same page. Perhaps these entities that are definitely visiting us may have a whole different morality, and maybe their primal instinct is different from ours. And
it may be that they're waiting on us to ascend from these more primal things for us as intellectual beings to be able to overcome these types of instincts with our intellect, so that we can become more trustworthy. We can become much better people than what we are. But we've got to be able to ascend above.
I agree. Totally. We definitely agree. And we all agree on that point for sure, JSCL. I mean, it's obviously the way that we want to go with our species, and we want to ascend to that point. That's, if you're a good person at heart, that's where you want this to go. But we're just making a parallel because, regardless of that fact, and we hope that that's where we go, the model across the galaxy or across the universe may be on this level that we're currently on, that's what it is. It's just primal instinct, and it's nature. There's nothing directing what happens in nature but whatever this force is that's greater than us, whatever the synergy between all the different species on this planet. They live without, if you take us away from the equation and look at everything else that lives here, it lives in a symmetry where it's give and take, and it's what allows the world to continue. And we are actually we step in the middle of that sometimes. Sometimes we help that process, or sometimes we hurt that process. But if you look at the two, you look at what humans are evolving to becoming versus what the rest of the life on this planet, what they do, it's likely that what they are doing is the natural thing to do versus us. What we're doing is likely the unnatural thing to do, as far as the path that we're taking and breaking away from what nature really is. So, if you look at it on both ends, it's a good thing, but then it could be a bad thing. You know, we've taken ourselves. We don't know how to hunt anymore. We if you know all these tools that we have, these grocery stores, all these things went away. There'd be a lot of people that just starve to death immediately within days because we have lost that connection to nature that helps our species live on. And so it's a double-edged sword as far as that goes. It's good and it's great, but then at the same time, if something were to happen to threw us back to the Stone Age tomorrow, we would probably not last as a species. We would probably go extinct because we have disconnected from the natural plan of what nature intends. So
Take the tiger out of the jungle, but it's hard to take the jungle out of the
there
tiger.
you go. That is
Yep.
definitely true.
Yep.
And
Perfect.
that's what we're faced with, is
Perfect. Yeah.
overcoming it
Um,
spiritually and intellectually.
I'm with you. I think we're all on the same page. But like I say, it's good to have these conversations because,
Yep.
yeah, morally, you don't want to talk about humans killing other humans. We know that's not right, and it should never happen. But to kind of understand the bigger picture of what it is and what we're doing, we kind of have to look at everything. I think even down to the smallest molecule up to the largest. You know what I mean? And I think we're somewhere in the middle. But you know, we have to just keep our mind open to all
yeah.
that.
You know, we all need to find ways to feed ourselves intellectually. And one thing I must say, I want to tell you about before this shuts down, okay? I was talking about Mark D'Antonio, who's
Yes.
an astronomer. Mark D'Antonio has a show on YouTube called Sky Tour Livestream.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when it goes on is more determined by good weather for viewing the night sky than anything else. But he has built an observatory in the desert of Arizona, which he operates remotely from Connecticut. He has the most advanced telescope of its type that I know of in the world. In the world. He has, it looks like, it's like having your own mini Hubble. The images that are produced from there are phenomenal. And when you go and you watch the show, not only do you get to see what's out here in space in a way that live, I'm talking about live, it's not canned, it's live. You get to see imagery from space that you won't see anywhere else. Not only do you get that, but you get Mark's perspective on these things. Remember, you know, for the topics that we are interested in, UFOs, etc., Mark is the chief image analyst from MUFON. All the photos, all the good photos, all the good videos. Mark is their analyst, and he is their analyst because he is so very good at it and has so much insight into it. So you not only get all the imagery, which you'll never see anywhere else, but you get Mark's perspective, and he gets into topics, things that we talk about and enjoy. So I want to invite you, you know, to go on YouTube, look up Sky Tour live stream and subscribe to it so that you get notifications when he is going live so that you can watch for yourself these wonderful programs. I see people from there in chat on our shows. Calabos, I guess is the way you said. I saw him on last night. He and his wife have sponsored a thing to help them build attendance where at certain shows they give away. You guess a number between 1 and 1,000. And if you win, you'll either win a nice Celestron telescope or a nice pair of Celestron binoculars. And they're coming up where they're about to give away some of the psionics equipment.
I need to be there for that.
And you, but yeah, and we all need to be there for that. But you know what? What I'm saying is it is a show where you are going to grow. when you
Right.
you're going to grow in every way. And I just want to invite people to come and be a part of it. And once you get there and you see for yourself what's going on, tell others about it, because you will not come across another program like this in the world. There are a lot of people who have programs on YouTube to watch the moon, watch this, watch that. But what I'm telling you is that his equipment is so advanced and his operation of it is so advanced. You're going to see things that you will not see anywhere else. You're going to hear conversations and explanations of what you're looking at that's going to be able to help you grow.
Oh
It's going
yeah,
to help you to
I
grow
agree.
intellectually and spiritually. Now, Mark, um, he's not a religious person at all. So I don't want to give you the wrong impression of what I'm telling you. But it is a wonderful learning experience. It's a great crew of people that hang out in chat. They have moderators, good moderators that watch chat. Okay. And it is a very constructive situation. So thank you for letting me tell you about it. Okay.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm definitely a fan of Mark D'Antonio. I'm actually trying to get him in for an interview.
That would be
I know
phenomenal.
Dave knows him, so
That would be the best interview you can imagine. I would love
yeah, no, it would be great because I'm gonna ask him questions that he doesn't get asked. That's a fact.
if
And
you go if you go to uh, the site that I was telling you about, podcast UFO
hmm
live shows, and you watch this recent show,
yeah, I
there
saw it. I
you
watched
know
it live.
there's Dave and there's Mark and other people.
hmm
At least in that video, you're going to get a taste of who Mark is, and
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
understand more about what I'm talking about.
That was an excellent
Voice, we
conversation. Just if I can just light a touch paper on this spiritual growth. What is that?
spiritual growth.
Yeah, what is that? And
It's the
and
growth
and
of your
and and,
inner
and,
being.
and what is its purpose?
It is the growth of your inner being, your soul, that is here upon this earth by your own choice. By your own choice. You're here upon this earth.
So
And what
it,
is the meaning of life? I'll tell you something that's very simple. Part of it is that you came here of your own free will. You made the decision to come. Part of your journey is to make the decision to go back home.
well, it was my parents' decision for me to come into this world. What benefits can I gain other than my mental well-being and centrally from spiritual growth?
For the
Is
sake
that what it's
of
all
your
about?
mental
And
well-being.
forgive me, please, if I'm sounding condescending. That is totally opposite of what I'm trying to say.
It's just
Um,
something you
um,
need to learn about. That's all.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not sounding condescending. I hope I'm not
no,
talking
no,
down to
no, you're
you.
not. No, you're not. I've a couple of months ago, I got one of the benefits, the well-being benefits I have from work. We have access to an app, a meditation app, which I've been using daily, and I have found it quite helpful. Breathing exercises and grounding exercises and being in the moment and things like that. So being being spiritual is I'm struggling. Spiritual growth. Again, what is that? How do you grow it?
It is,
Is it like a plant? Is it like a seed you plant and you grow it?
yes, it's a spiritual seed. Your spiritual growth, you're growing spiritually right now from this conversation.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're gaining insight that will feed your well being, your emotional stability, your mental well being that you mentioned a moment ago. is governed by your spirit and your consciousness, your awareness of what is really going on and what is important.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. It's a weird one because I think for many of us, maybe all three of us are having this conversation for the first chunk of our lives. We don't consider spiritual growth or anything. We just go headlong into
Being
just
alive,
going
living.
just going to work and going out with the boys or the girls, going to takeaways or whatever. And then I think later on in life, I'm in my 50s, knocking on to 60s now, and you kind of slow down and start wondering. There's there's a little more to this for me, not for anybody else. There's a little more to this for me, and the whole spiritual side. When we talk about spirituality, people think, oh, it's some kung fu artist sitting in a mountain somewhere, um, but it isn't. It's very personal, and it's very grounding, and it's very, very easy to access once you dip your toe in that spiritual pond. It's very calming, and
Sure do.
it allows you to breathe easier. What do you think?
I've got to know something. Who are you in chat? I don't know who I'm talking to.
That is welcome to the show,
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, my name's Lee.
Major
My
Lee.
name,
Yep.
Lee, I'm Jimmy.
my name's Lee. I live in Manchester, UK.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Mississippi, USA.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Um, I want to ask you something. Just to,
yeah.
and I
Go
know
on,
you've
shoot.
thought of this before. It won't be anything new. When you're sitting at your computer in your little chair and you haven't had anything to drink for a long time, say, and you say to yourself, get up, go get you a bottle of water. Who is talking to who?
First of all, I don't have a computer. Uh,
Well, if you're on your phone or whatever, but what I'm
everything I
saying,
do is on my smartphone, and
when you're
and
talking
and
to
and
yourself,
and,
I
and,
need to go do this. You
just to
should
clarify,
get up and go
and,
do this.
and
Who's
just to
talking to who?
and just to clarify, I don't have a computer, and I don't drink. I've been sober now for 15 years. Um,
Congratulations.
um, so who's talking to who? Well, that's a very philosophical question.
Well, I mean, there's obviously more than just your ego at work. There's obviously more than just your physical body sitting wherever you are or standing, whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
more there. You like
yeah,
almost have a conversation with
yeah.
yourself.
Of course you do. Of course you do. I think it's almost like we're having a conversation now. Your body in milliseconds has a conversation with itself and says, I'm
Somewhere
going.
in there, what I'm trying to point out to you is the spiritual you. The spiritual you is having a conversation with the physical you. Can you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I just at this moment don't have a definition of spiritual.
Yeah, and I think spiritual is just it can mean different things to different people. I think it's just it can be looked at as your consciousness, your the thing that's you that makes you you, that
Yep.
inner energy, that inner thing that will be that's looking for this ascension through this whole disclosure process. So that part of you is the spiritual part that he's talking about. And spiritual can be taken obviously in different ways depending on how you're looking at it. It could be considered religious, or it could be in this line that we're talking about here that may just deal with consciousness, just your ascension of the inner you, that thing that makes you you. And I don't know if I cleared that up anymore, but essentially that's what he's saying.
Yeah, yeah. No. I totally get that. I think in recent years, I've and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I've tend to shield myself away from society and global events and try and focus on my own well-being. Um, is that me being spiritual, or is that me having doing something else?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, if I'm going to answer that, I would probably say it's more like it's the building up of you. It's the building. It's your knowledge. It's all the things that aren't physical. I guess is pretty much what JSCL just said a moment ago. The part of you that isn't physical. So the that part of you growing that, whether it's through knowledge, whether it's through doing something good that makes you feel better and kind of raises your vibration, what people say, or frequency. Think that's more of the what is the spiritual part of it. So it's separate from the physical you. It's the rest of you that isn't physical, that you build, and whatever means you use to build that up is raising your spiritual awareness or level. So I think that pretty much says it.
So most of my excuse me, most of my working life I've been involved in structural engineering, heavy engineering, and still am now, but I'm more of a manager, and I'm with that at the moment. So started off working in the steel industry 30 years ago and progressed through there to various other developments. And so the whole like UFO thing and paranormal thing kind of crept into my life about 25 years ago when I read Chariots of the Gods while I was on my lunch break.
King, when you what? I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
25
I
years
read.
ago.
Yeah, sorry, I read Chariots of the Gods about 25 years ago
Okay.
on my lunch break on a big construction site where we was building a bridge across a river in Manchester, and it's kind of developed from there. And so, just jumping back to the whole, I just wanted to give that little nugget of what I do for a living. I kind of got the impression I don't sit in front of a computer all day and and do all that stuff. I have a very active working life. But getting back to spirituality, it's um, it's something I don't quite understand, but something that I feel is affecting me. Since I started these meditation things on the phone and talking to people online like yourselves, um, it, how important is it, or is it not important? Should you just carry on down the highway and hope you don't have a crash?
Well, it's nice to know that if you crash, that you have somewhere to crash, isn't it? That if you crash, perhaps there's someone there to pick you up and put you back together.
And who would that be?
Well, for me, it's Jesus. See, that's just me. I don't expect anyone else to. I'm saying that for me, I belong to Him. And I'm not worried about whether I crash or not. Death holds no fear for me. But that is
No,
because of my
yeah,
perspective on it
no,
all and
I
where I
don't.
fit with it,
I,
you
I
know.
don't I don't fear death at all. I don't fear death at all. I've had a couple of close encounters and a couple of other things. I don't fear death. Jesus, I would love to embrace. Um, one of my favourite pictures is, and it's called First Day in Heaven, and it's a woman hugging Jesus in in almost ecstasy. And so I would love to embrace Jesus. It's something I've never thought about. I don't consider myself as being religious, but I do consider myself as being spiritual. I think the two things may collide or may merge. It perhaps finding your own spirituality is, maybe reaching a hand out to Jesus. I don't know. I don't know these. I don't know these answers.
That's a great part about the conversation. We none of us actually do, and I think that part of us that we're talking about now is something we always talk about. We don't fully understand, and we're still trying to figure out. So, yeah, we're in the same boat as you. We don't understand it as well. We can't really explain it. That's why it's not as clear cut when we're trying to explain it because we don't really understand that part of it either. It just is it's something that's there that we know is there. We can sort of explain it, but I think we're all talking about the same thing.
You know, it's interesting that some of the most knowledgeable people in the field that we're interested in say that these beings from elsewhere, they are aware of a higher power just like we are.
I
You,
would probably agree.
haven't you heard that said? I've heard it said on numerous occasions from
Yeah.
different people. Some of them, some of the best informed on this
I'm
topic.
I, I'm not aware of a high power.
See, and I'm glad you brought that up because higher power for me doesn't tie into God is in the I'm a Christian, but I don't know. I'm not so deep in within religion that I can't be still open minded, right? So I to have the conversation with people who believe in different things, maybe part of different religions. Those things are called different things. So I don't. The higher a higher power doesn't have to be a physical a person or what someone is saying. I
It's an
think
individual,
what
right?
that higher power is it could be exactly the word power. It could be an energy, whatever it is that makes this thing go that we're trying to figure out is the higher power. Whether and just don't I say don't get locked into the idea that when someone says higher power they're talking about God or a God or in the sense that religion explains it as. I think we can probably all agree that
I
there
can,
is something that has created us all, whatever that may be, even ETs, because ETs are just beings from another planet, same as we are from this planet. So they are only above us intellectually, but as far as them being living things, we are still all on that same level. And there has to be something bigger than that that created everything that we that we can touch and we can experience. And I think that goes for them and for us. And I think, whether you call it a God or you call it a whatever you call it, I think that we can agree that there is something bigger than us and bigger than these ETs and bigger than the planet we're on and bigger than the galaxy that we're in and go on to the universe that we sit in as well, that something created that. So whatever energy started that is that higher thing. And I
That's
think
right.
that's something across the board that everybody could probably agree in, because this didn't just happen.
No, I
Something
could have said
created
that in
this.
10 different ways, Rob, but I
Exactly.
chose to say it the way that I did to create a sense of freedom in an individual's interpretation of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, higher power, okay,
Yep. I
but you
think
have to
that's
be
a good word
careful.
to use.
You have
I,
to be
I,
careful with it.
I think, maybe it's just a whole natural process. Um, Universes come and go, and it's a whole natural process. Where these universes originate from, the birth dates, well, that's a whole different conversation. But in regard to a higher power, that's kind of a very broad concept
Yes.
on how you want to look at that. It's like Rob respectfully said, something created everything, and we're having this conversation now. Um, but a higher power, I'm not. It could be a neutral power, like a neutral natural uh, event that we perhaps perceive as being a higher power. That terminology, a higher power, is is can be contrived in different ways. Perhaps it's just a natural event, and life evolves. There's a spark in the universe, or predator in the universe that creates life, and maybe it's develops into certain religious aspects and concepts, um, which is all well and good, that that's fine. I don't personally hold those feelings at the moment. I'm kind of on a knife edge at the moment. I'm either going to tip into religion, or tip into, it's just nature. It's just the way it is. It's just how life develops, and it's being experienced on a billion planets in our, in our galaxy right now. It's just a natural event.
Yeah. It
Folks,
could be. It could be none. It could be none of those things. It could be one of those things. It could be all of those things. And that's the beautiful part about having these conversations, is that we just don't know. So it could be, you could consider a higher power if it's the Big Bang that started this. If that ends up being what it was, then the energy that would have the event that started the Big Bang would be that higher power. It would be the thing that made this so. So regardless what that answer is, whatever made this so is the higher power. So it doesn't. That's what. When you look at it that way, then okay, it doesn't need to be a body or a something that you necessarily have to worship or look up to. It could be just like you stated, a natural event. It could be, but it's really the cause that created the effect. So the
okay.
cause is what the higher power is.
The topic makes a lot of people nervous, okay?
Oh yeah.
And we can defend it all day, but there is a truth of it and in it. It exists. They know it exists. We know it exists. And as you said at the very beginning, Rob, they are all still trying to figure it out, just like we are.
Yeah,
That's
I
going to
believe
be a
that.
truth. That's going to be a truth. Listen, thank you so much for allowing me to come in and talk to you. It's 3:40 a.m. here. I
Yes,
got to
sir.
run. I got to run. I love you
Appreciate you.
all, and I appreciate you. I really do. My
Let's do it
friend that I've
again.
been talking to there, you have a good night, and you keep searching and
Hey,
keep
brother,
asking, because if
brother,
you
brother,
ask,
bro, let me tell you, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk with you this morning and this evening. And I hope we can have further conversations. You
I
take
look
care.
forward to it, my friend. I look forward to it.
Awesome.
Peace.
JSCO, thank you so much for coming on in. We enjoyed it. Everybody enjoyed it.
I
And let's
absolutely.
do it again.
very much. Good night to y'all.
Take care. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
That's what this is
yeah,
for.
great conversation, Rob. Um, Fantastic. I think we touched on a lot of things today,
Yes.
and if maybe we can just casually wind things up with the word worship. Um, that's another conundrum. Worshipping something. What is that all about?
So I don't like that word. I don't like the word worship. I don't think worship ties into any of this at all. I just don't think that it does because we don't even what would we be worshiping? We don't even know what this is. So I don't think worship. I think worship is more attuned to a group of people following a particular one thing, whether that's a person or a some I the ideology that whatever this thing is greater than what
Is
we are. Higher
is
power, I don't think ties into that though.
do you think all the religions around the world worship deities and things like that? So there's a bit of a conundrum there, whether you're Christian, Muslim, or whatever other faith. I
Hmm.
respect them. I respect them all. Um, to worship something, it's like, is that saying thank you for life? Is worshipping something saying thank you for me waking up this morning? Thank you for the food I eat. Thank you for the water I drink. Is that what worship is?
I
Because
feel
I
like
don't know.
worship is I'm here at your beck and call. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to do what it is that you ask of me. I think that's more of what worship is, and I think that's why really that just ties to like a cultish mentality or a religious mentality where you are just at the beck and call of the thing that it is that you're worshiping. All there's no questioning this thing that you worship. It's all belief, and that's one of the things we talk about is you can't be on a fully believe without evidence side. You can't be on a believe not to believe, which is the extreme skeptic point of view. Both of those are belief systems, and I think that's where you get in trouble. And that's why I think that worship is definitely not anything that is a part of what it is that we're trying to
Yeah,
do or
yeah,
where we're trying to go.
I would agree. So I live in a multicultural society here. Um, going to church on Sunday or going to pray um, several times a day. Um, is that worship or is I'm struggling with the concept
I think that is worship.
regarding religion and worship. Um, I struggle with those concepts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because and I understand that because they consider going to pray as being a form of worship, and they actually call it worship in some religions. And maybe that's the definition that they use for it there. But I think it's still. I think the baseline to it is that it ties into a religious thought process, which I mean, if we're talking about religion, then yeah, I mean that's probably something that we could really dive into and figure out what the word really means. But I just don't think it applies outside of religious. If that's what we're talking about, then yeah. But I just don't feel like religion is ever used, or I mean, worship is ever used or applied to, or should be applied to the conversation that we're having on the
Yeah,
ET
yeah,
side of this.
yeah. No, I agree. I'm just throwing that log on the fire. Um, uh, I have many friends from multiple um, beliefs, and they commit themselves many times during the day or in the week to give gratitude to
Mm-hmm.
their beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally respect that. I
Yeah.
totally respect that. They are all good people,
Yes.
but but there's I struggle with the origins of that, and when I say the origins, I mean like the today origins. Why would you commit yourself to those um, activities? Um,
Here's what we're gonna do. This is I'm gonna bring it up. We're gonna find out what is the meaning of worship according to the Oxford Dictionary. It's the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity.
Reverence. That's a beautiful word. That's a beautiful word. So it's that word just see. I consider myself as not being religious, but that word reverence rushes through my body and gives me a warm feeling. Um, so I don't know. I'm not sure if religion isn't kind of connected to a biological effect. It must be because it must be biological because whether you're going to pray on Sunday or you're going to pray today, um, um, you get that warm feeling, and that's a biological effect, isn't it? Surely.
Now, when you say
It, it,
biological, what do you
it
mean?
well, it's biological. It's like when you do something positive in life. Let's say you come across somebody who has a flat tire on the road, and you help them fix the tire and get them on the way. You get like a little kick, um, like a positive kick, like a biological kick, because everything is biological. I think
Okay.
it's like a chemical reaction, and
Okay.
and if you're going to pray and give thanks um, for you know just being in the present moment,
Right.
um,
Right.
it's like a biological kick in the ass, and it's a good kick in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I agree with what you're saying there. It's almost like it's almost like 5 hour energy for your soul, and I agree with that. It is like a positive boost to your aura, and yeah, so I agree with that. I think I totally agree with what you say on that. But yeah, I mean, that, but that's the thing. I mean, it's cool to be in the religion, and we don't, look down on any religion. It's what you do, and that's fine. But I think we'll find out that the base level, the words and the things that we have been taught about religion, we're probably going to find out that there's a lot more to the story, and maybe what that ends up doing once we do reset is maybe it aligns all religions into one, or I don't know what the effect would end up being, but we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
have a higher understanding of
yeah.
what this is.
I would agree. I would agree. All religions have have the exact same baseline. Um, um, we. I don't like to call them we because I don't consider myself as religious. But I think all religions have an exact same baseline.
Yeah,
and
a lot of
and
similarities.
and it's just um, like a tree has been growing, and there's different limbs and different leaves to that religion. But I think all religions are grew from the same pot, if you like.
Definitely. And Lex Diaz, well, if you think about that, that's why we're here at this channel. Totally right about that. It's conversations like these, which is why I'm just glad to be having these conversations here because that's what this is for. And I think the last couple of weeks that we've done this, we've been able to really lock on to some things and do what it is that we're supposed to be doing here, which is exactly this. And I think we all move further by having these conversations. I think we take, even if it's a small step, just parsing through all this and laying it all out and really seeing how much it is that we really don't know and what we need to sift through. And we're kind of starting at the bare bottom level on getting or, coming with plausible answers. And there's just still so much more to go. But, yeah, that's exactly why we are all here. We're here for the same reason, and I think we are all getting we're all moving the needle by having these conversations. So
Yeah, I would agree. Rob. This is like it's like a bare knuckle fighting of all these things. But after the fight, we can sit down and drink some wine and eat some food. It's a very difficult subject to approach. All these subjects are very difficult, whether it's morality or spiritual, whether it's UFOs or Sasquatch and cryptids. Um, crazy subjects to approach. But
yeah, you're absolutely right. And Maggie Intense's Mr. Rod got the brain cells going. This show is epic, and that's where you start the show. We talk about the talk that the conversation gets you talking, and the talk that keeps you thinking. So when you walk away from the show, your mind is it's like speeding up your metabolism for your mind, and your mind is working. When I'm done with these shows, it takes me hours to wind back down to just a normal level. So, but I love it because I love the brain work that it takes to kind of get through, to work through this. And there are a lot of, from Maggie's comment, she feels the same way and likes to stimulate her brain. And I know that you do too, Major Lee, just from the conversations that we've had, that's exactly what you like to do as well. And JSCO, and it just shows that we all have that mindset, everyone here, and that's the reason why we come here, going back to the previous comment. So
yeah,
it,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
beautiful.
I'd like to agree with that. And JFC, wow, great conversation. Um, yeah, it's funny. So it's 9:50 a.m. here in the UK, and I woke up this morning about 5:30 a.m. I managed to catch the back end of SOR after
Okay.
hours. Great conversation. I'll be checking back in on that later. Yeah, these conversations are great. I feel invigorated now.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know. Is that my spirituality has
Yes.
been jump started
Yes.
today?
You have
Uh,
elevated your spirit. Yes, you
yep.
have.
And I would hope for everybody listening, or anybody who may listen, and everybody who I talked to this evening, this morning, because I was on another podcast last night also. Um, if we can get a little boost, because that boost creates a little time warp where you can think about things and it doesn't really matter.
Yes, I
and
agree.
you can take those moments in the day to contemplate things
Yes.
without any duress or prejudice,
Yes, sir.
and those moments are very, very special.
They are wise words and totally absolutely correct in your thinking there. And that is the goal. So as long as people feel that way, I'm glad to hear you say that. That's what this channel is for. I mean, that's what it's for. You've been here enough times to know that it's about having those tough conversations. That's what I was gonna say. We sometimes talk about things that we can't do over at SOR, and that makes this even better because we can do what we do over there, and then we can come over here and say the things that we may not have been able to say. So, we're going to keep this going for as long as you guys want to have the conversation. And we're so far to getting to the end of this that I think this is a necessity in, navigating this path, and hopefully other shows start doing this. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind if other shows copied this format because we need to be having these conversations in a lot of different places and really as a collective. So I would be flattered, if anything, to see someone try to take this on. Because this isn't the only place that you can have the conversation. We can. The goal is to have this conversation with the people in your everyday life. And this is just the start of it. And hopefully that's where this all ends up, where everybody that's here today can tomorrow in their normal life talk to other people and engage them in this same sort of conversation. So
It's a nice place to be, Rob. It's a nice place to be, and in the world at the moment, which is I won't use the language I was going to use. It's messed up at the moment.
oh yeah,
Uh, there's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of loss of life in many parts of the world today, and it's nice to be able to step back and just be in the moment. For me personally, it's a very nice place to be.
definitely. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I love the interaction from everyone, the people that come up here on stage, that call in, the people that participate in the chat, and even the lurkers that are just back there kind of just watching. You're still playing a part, and hopefully you join the chat at some point and maybe even jump on stage. That would be awesome. If you are here for the first time or haven't done so already, please consider hitting the subscribe button and notification bell so you know when try to do these every weekend now, but sometimes I have to take time off. It's just an energy thing, but I'm down to do it as much as you guys want to do it. So as long as you guys are here to have the conversation, I'll be here with you. So just know that, and know that this is a no BS channel here. I mean, we don't do the BS. This is all about progressing humanity. Literally, that is the purpose and the goal of every conversation that we have here. And it has to be that, because that's why I even created this channel, was solely to do what we're doing right now. And, whether this catches on fast or no, maybe this takes a while before a lot of people start tuning into it. But I think as long as we've laid this groundwork, then no matter when they get to the show, as long as the information is here, then they'll be able to enlighten themselves and kind of, further the conversation on their own time. So we're gonna consider. I mean, we're gonna continue doing this for sure.
Happy days, Rob. I'm going to finish cooking my breakfast, bro,
Yes, sir. Thank you for
and
coming up.
then I'm going to go out and walk my dogs and
Definitely.
chill out for the rest of the weekend. You take care, bro.
You too. Have a good rest of your day. And if you can, come on in for after hours and we'll be hanging out there.
No worries, bro. Take care.
You too. Later. All right, guys. So let me come back up on camera. Yes, it's been a fantastic conversation tonight. I really do appreciate you guys coming on out. This has been epic. Once again, like I said, 2 weeks in a row. You know, since we come back with the call-in show, we've been really getting it in and having the conversations that matter, right? Not just BSing around and you know, which is cool because I like hanging out with you guys. But at the same time, for those who come later, who come to watch the show, it may happen on this show, this particular show, 2-3 weeks from now, a month down the road. We want them to get value out of the conversations that we're having here, and I think they definitely will. These conversations get your mind going and get you thinking, which we have to exercise this brain of ours if we're going to have any chance of, you know, figuring this thing out. And I really do appreciate everybody coming on in and, you know, supporting what it is that we do here. As long as you're here, I'm here. And Magneticus will tell you, when there was only one person here in the audience named Magneticus, we got it in still. You know, the conversations still were had. And I'm just so glad that we have a growing community of people to have these conversations with. So once again, this is being broadcast currently on YouTube and I think Facebook and Twitch as well. So if you haven't, if you're on Rumble, go ahead and go to subscribe to the Social Dig on Rumble, because I can't start live streaming there until I think you got to get like 5 followers over there, and I haven't checked, but it wasn't at 5. So we need to get to 5 on Rumble so we could have this going out on Rumble as well live, and just trying to grow the community, man, and get more people like us in here to have these conversations. So I am definitely glad that you guys came here. It has been a pleasure. I want to thank Magneticus, Maggie M10, Lex Diaz, Lil Cam 51, JSCL 77, Major Lee, welcome to the show. To Mothman, who else do we have here? Summer, Brown Dwarf, I said Magneticus, The Woo and the Pooh, DG, Derek Galloway. Let's see, who else did we have here today? We had, we go back. Okay, Ange came through. Appreciate you, Ange. I said to Mothman. Let's see. I think that's it. If I missed you, I didn't mean to. Definitely want to thank you for coming on in. Make sure you check us out for After Hours. It's going to be another great show. And until then, I'll check you later. You guys have a great rest of your night and take care.